During the decades in which I grew up, the internet was dispersed among a great number of physical locations and then further dispersed among the items one browsed in these specialist sites. For instance, if you wanted to read something, you visited a bookshop. If you wanted to listen to music, you visited a record shop, and so on. The world was not yet delivered to our doorstep, was not yet compressible into a space smaller than a fingernail. We had to schlep everywhere to enter the distracted bliss that now charges by the side of our beds. I spent my childhood exploring minutely every record, book and comic shop on my way home from school, anything that might alleviate the grinding boredom that came with being alive in Ireland before broadband. So unconsciously impatient was I for laptops and game consoles and social media and all the rest of it that I remember standing at a speak and spell in an early electronics shop, refusing to accept defeat as I pounded a series of unsuccessful answers into it. Something in me sensed it was the future, even as it repeated words through a voice synthesizer seemingly made of rubber bands. Spell orange. O-R-A-N-G-E. That is incorrect. Spell orange. O-R-A-N-G-E. That is incorrect. Spell orange. I thought, hang on a sec, is it saying porridge? P-O-R-R-I-D-G-E. That is incorrect. Spell orange. O-R-A-N-G-E. No, the correct answer is D-R-A-W-B-R-I-D-G-E. After this, endless hours flipping through books in Eason's, comics in The Alchemist's Head, and albums in Freebird, Comet and Golden Discs, always pausing for maybe a little bit too long at the Scorpions cover that showed a woman with chewing gum stuck to her boob. That was the internet. When I wasn't scouring the pre-internet internet for distraction, I observed and stored for later use how adults made their own entertainment. One day my mum's sisters came over and got roaringly drunk on vodka and tonic, a lanky bottle of Smirnoff demolished over the course of an hour, with ensuing rowdy gossip, heated accusations and screaming laughter. My dad couldn't believe the family he'd married into. "They've drunk the whole thing," he said, sneaking up to Mum during a pause in the mayhem and marvelling at the bottle's sudden weightlessness. My aunts finally staggered from the house like puppies released from a greyhound trap, talking absolute nonsense, as my mum put it. Later, my parents discovered that weeks before the invasion of sozzled ants, my younger brother and his teenage friends had themselves drunk the vodka and replaced its contents in a panic. So my mum's sisters had managed somehow to get hammered by pounding down multiple glasses of tonic and tap water. Excess forms the basis of my earliest memory, me and a gang of toddler hooligans devouring every last scrap of jam from the jar at some sort of home nursery. The childminder had taken the fatal decision to leave us alone for half a second, so we stomped into the kitchen like the seven dwarves and had our preschool way with the contents of her fridge. A better behaved child screamed at us in pure terror, "You're not supposed to eat the jam from the jar!" Every toddler fears getting in trouble more than they fear death, and the trouble that ensued made such an impression on me that decades later I gave that line to Dougal, the childishly innocent junior priest in Father Ted. The only other clear memory from my early childhood is seeing the Wombles live. The Wombles were a gang of pre-internet furries who cleaned up litter. "Remember you're a Womble," they sang, as if anyone could forget such a condition. I soon found myself in a boys' school run by priests from the Society of Mary, otherwise known as the Marist Fathers. Nothing untoward to report, they weren't that sort of priest. I was far more frightened of my fellow pupils. The friends I found, fellow wimps, nerds and awkward types, had all come to settle in each other's company like marbles in a wine glass, together partly because no one else would have us. Grateful not to be the target for once, I even took part in the derision aimed at one boy, who would later become my best friend. The call of the herd was never easy to resist, even before the internet boosted its signal. I was bullied because I was too tall and too frightened of my own anger to fight back. After a motorbike accident, my cousin Jim spent the rest of his short life being cared for by my Aunt Stella and my cousins, his sisters Anne and Mary. It was the family's great tragedy and also affected my mother, who had given birth to my brother John 6 weeks before the accident. She suddenly saw life-altering violence as something that could appear unexpectedly and out of nowhere, as it had for Jim. I absorbed her fear, and this left me wide open to bullies who, unlike me, didn't see every thrown punch as having the potential to send someone on a one-way trip to an industrial grey wheelchair in their sitting room.